Okay. Hi, I'm Shayna, and those are my dogs that are about to bark because I don't talk out loud by myself very often. So, if they start, I'm sorry. Um, this is me at the tail end of a slight meltdown, and it made me want to talk about it because it's what, different, I see a lot of people like Gary and stuff talking about when they're going through stuff. Well, mostly Gary, because I came here through the whole bootay stuff, and it's what I've always wanted to do, to show that what's happening and why. And so basically what happened today is a general thing that can happen a lot, which is plans got screwed up and fell through, which, I have a hard time making plans for things because it happens a lot, especially the more people you get involved, the more miscommunication can happen, the more different things can go wrong. And one of the things that can cause an autistic meltdown is you get so set on a thing going a certain way, and it doesn't. And it's like, I'm not stupid, guys. I have over 100 IQ. I learned to read when I was like 3, and it's not that I'm spoiled and I'm just so disappointed. I have to be over dramatic that I didn't get what I wanted. It's, there's a lot of stress and pressure, and my car died, and we were trying to get a new car, and it's a Nissan Cube, weird little thing, and they're harder to get, but they're also really well rated cars. And it was a really good deal. It was someone that had gotten a different car, and she just needed to get rid of the one, had it sitting around, and but it was like a few hours away, so there was a little wrangling to do and everything, and just the way it worked out, the plans fell through, and she sold it to someone else today. And so my instant reaction is to start crying because I'm disappointed. And it's like, yes, I'm a 40-year-old woman that's crying because she didn't get the car she wanted, but it's not that simple. It's like, you think you've got everything figured out, everything fixed, you're relaxed, you're going on to thinking about other things, and then all of a sudden this big thing just blew up again. And I mean, this is a relatively big thing, which is probably why I don't feel so bad talking about it. Like, yeah, there was there were multiple people involved, because of course when you're going and buying a car, at least one other person has to be there because you have to get to the damn thing. So we're talking about schedules and driving for 4 hours to go get this car and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, this might happen, this might not, and then, oh, it's gonna happen, and then, oh, well, this other person from like down the road decided to come get it today, and I was gonna have to like wait till Monday to sell it to you. And I get it. It's like, you get mad. Like, you couldn't wait for like 2 fucking days, It's been for sale for like weeks, according to Facebook. So, you wouldn't think a couple days was that difficult. And, we had agreed at a time and place. So me thinking that this was a set done thing wasn't. Yeah, I mean, if the deal's done, the deal's done. There's nothing to be done about it, and that's the thing, and that's the thing to learn how to deal with. So, what do I do with this? Like, there's going to be situations where I still have to deal with my reactions, whether they're for a good reason or not. I mean, I'm still gonna have a reaction, whether it's to some, I have one new car in my life, and it lasted for like 10 years, which was awesome. It was just my car, and I never had to think about it. It just worked. Sometimes something went wrong with it, as it got older, as cars do. It was nice to have something just stay the same in my life for a while, because that's not like necessarily a normal thing. So even something as simple as a car being dependable for 10 years is like shocking. Sorry, I'm getting quiet, and I'm not going to be able to edit because I don't know if I can get past that weird looking at yourself on video thing quite yet. I know it's a thing people have issues with, and I tried it once and it was weird. Anyways, talking about it helps too, because talking it out logically just talks me down. I can't imagine that works for everybody, but I have had a lot of low-key heated arguments, specifically recently with a therapist, that if you're telling me what would you do to calm yourself down, and I'm telling you, well, I would say this, 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 and this, and you're telling me, really? Is that really what you do? For someone that needed that? And I'd say, well, no. Not for other people. But for me, distracting myself with the logic of what's going on, like, oh my God, there's an earthquake going on. Well, I know what an earthquake is, so it's not very scary. It's the same kind of thing. Like, oh, this, like, craziness is going on. Well, okay, this, like, I can see how this happens, so it's not, like, freaking me out so bad. Like, just talking it through, it makes it not so, I always want to say scary, but it's not really the right word. But it is too, because humans are just naturally afraid of the unknown. So it kind of makes sense. I don't know. How was I ever supposed to hold a job? If I'm so easy to set off, that any, juvenile shithead that's bored, like, I attract them. Those people that like picking on people that are easy to get a rise out of, I attract them. Like, I had to learn how to not react. Like, that was the big thing in elementary school, was to learn how to not have a meltdown when someone would pick at me. And to basically learn how to numb myself out, because I was forced to be around these large groups of people that, it was basically inevitable that someone would take a disliking to me for whatever reason. And it was usually I was setting off something that they didn't even know, because I was setting off some kind of, oh, this person is doing something wrong kind of thing. And they don't necessarily, if it's other kids your same age, and of course, we didn't, all we really knew about autism was Rain Man, like, and kids, I mean, when I was a teenager, like, kids were autistic. When I was a kid, boys were autistic, When I was a kid, I didn't have ADD because I could concentrate on a computer test. Never mind that computers were neat and cool and fun, and I really liked taking tests because I was good at them. And I could do this test really good and pass it. And, well, of course, passing it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. Also, about 5 years ago, when I was 35, had a doctor tell me that I definitely didn't have ADD because I could finish a book. Because I could read long books and delve deep into them. Basically, because I could hyper-focus, which, by the way, is a thing that ADD people can do when they're interested in things. And I'm really super interested in reading. I learned to read when I was 3, and I used it as a form of escape, like a lot of people use television, because I had a stepmother and 4 step-siblings who were usually in the living room. So if I wanted to escape this large group of strangers, because they weren't blood related to me, so didn't have the same eccentricities, so I would escape into reading, because these books, and I could delve into these whole things. But anyways, it's like, so yeah, okay, I understand your very simplistic square box that you're putting people with ADD in, that people with ADD can't finish books. And I'll tell you what, there's times when I cannot pay attention to shit, and I wouldn't pick up a book. I wouldn't even bother to try. I'd just go do something else that wouldn't bother me, that I would just adapt to that. I don't even think about it. I just don't force myself to try to read books when I'm all flustered and all over the place and can't concentrate to save my life. But I think that's kind of how I've had to look at things. Instead of looking at what I can't do, look at how I can adapt to what's around me, because I can't just push myself into these, I can't be the same every day. Every day isn't the same. I wake up and I don't know how sensitive my entire being is going to be. Like, there's days when I can feel like if one of my hairs is brushing across my face, and there's other days when my hair could be like this all day and I wouldn't even notice. And other days when, I lay down to fall asleep and I'm like this because I feel like there's hair on my face for 10 minutes, because I'm just so sensitive to everything. And sound and light, and I have the sunlight coming in right now, but there's plenty of times, most of the time, it's more down like this, not as in your face. And it's, wonderful Pittsburgh overcast weather, because we see the sun a few times a year. It was out for a few hours yesterday. It was exciting. And then it rained. Now it's cloudy. I know. I will introduce you to Luna. This is my Luna. She has a very stupid haircut right now. But it's okay, because she's still cute. When her face is all grown in, she looks like an Ewok. And she's my youngest. And this is her twin sister who's trying to run away. Pepper Bean. Here. Pepper Bean. And I got her. I almost didn't get her. These guys were, oops. They were accident puppies. I didn't get to fix my girl fast enough when she got knocked up by a peekapoo. So I've got Chinese crested peekapoos. She does not know what's happening. Her tail's just going. She's like, "What's going on, Mom?" This is my little rascal. She's a good girl. And I guess I have to show you the other two. This is my Bellatrix. Hi, baby girl. This is my Bella. And that's her pupper. That's her puppy, Andromeda. Andy, come here, puppers. Come here. These guys are both full purebred Chinese cresteds. Bella is hairless. Bella turns 13 this year, so Bella's officially my longest consistent relationship in my life, so that's awesome. Baby steps. You're a good girl. So, I don't know, that's basically it. Yes, her name's Bellatrix. When she was a little baby puppy, her hair was black and just all over the place, and my boyfriend at the time's kid said, "Name her from Harry Potter." And we were like, "What's a girl's name from Harry Potter that works for this little puppy?" And her black frizzy hair, so she's Bella. And then her daughter Andy is Andromeda, who's Bella's sister. And then I have my Luna. I didn't name Coco. She sticks out. But that's okay. I just tell her she's different. She's special. A friend of mine named her after Coco Chanel because her daughter's name was Chanel. And they were going to keep her, but she didn't fit in with the pack. So she came home, but her name was already Coco. So it's like, yeah, that doesn't fit with my personality at all, but okay. It was always funny for us to go hanging around together. I like hanging out with people that are really different than me too, because it's more interesting. Like, I'll never forget the first time going to, like, the goth club, or, you know, just the feeling of coming home and being around people who were kind of kooky in the same way as me. But yeah, the goth club, you know, after being in high school and being like the first person to be wearing all the black and that weren't punks or metalheads, you know, when I switched over or whatever, I got to be snotty about it because I was wearing 9 Inch Nails t-shirts before all this silly freshman came in. High school. Yeah, that meant you, Kara. Who was the awesomest person. I went on a campaign. I heard she was going to see 9 Inch Nails and David Bowie. And we were friends. Like, not that we weren't friends. We just weren't, like, super close friends or anything. She was going to take her, like, best friend to see 9 Inch Nails and David Bowie. But her friend was, like, into, like, just, you know, top 40 average 90s pop. And I'm like, no. It's like, look, you need to take someone that is going to be over the hills, like just can't beside themselves. Okay, look, I needed to see David Bowie. I mean, I needed to see Trent Reznor, but I really needed to see David Bowie. Like, wee little Shayna, like, before I was born, like, since forever, I just needed to see David Bowie. So, that was really cool, and it started a friendship, and I'm so incredibly thankful that I've had friends in my life that have taken me to do stuff and stuff that I wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise. Because two people with depression shouldn't live alone. And high school was hard. Because I didn't have the words. So, shout out to all the guys on doing any mental health talking. Gary, Tony, you guys are off the top of my head. But I mean, anyone that will speak up. Because, you know, my dad was a Vietnam vet. And we went through a lot anyway. And he's probably autistic too. And, you know, his marriage fell apart and some shit happened when I was in middle school, and we were both in a really bad place, and neither of us had a way to talk about it. And, you know, sometimes I think people think I'm overreacting or exaggerating, but I feel like we were both in danger plenty of times. You know, we would go weeks without speaking to each other. Two people living in the same house. You know, I sat there, you know, and I would wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night or something, and he'd be awake at 2 o'clock in the morning just staring at infomercials. And it's like, now as an adult, I know what was happening, and that he didn't even have the outlet of something like this, or even just being able to cry, because his generation, he's so stoic. I watched him at his father's funeral, standing at attention with one tear going down his face, and we were alone, and I just don't want that to ever happen to someone else. You know, we got through it. You know, we had, you know, his family, my family, and it's, but there's how many other people that don't, you know, if there's one thing that I'm firmly in the center of, it's there's people that have had a lot worse than me too. A lot. And a lot worse in different ways. Like, I can sit here and people will be like, oh, you know, I'm so sad for you for this or for that, and it is sad, and I'm sad too, but then sometimes there will be things that I'm just like, yeah, this happened, you know, it was a thing that happened, and I'm just so past it, and it's horrifying to people. And other people would be like the same thing, like, you know, oh, this was just this thing that happened in my past when I was a kid, and I'm just like, that is the most horrifying thing ever. Actually, that happens a lot when people talk about their siblings. I was an only child. Wow. Some of the things you guys do to each other, I'm like, that's horrifying and traumatizing. That probably has to do more with me being a rather sensitive person. But, wow. Like, oh, who was it? Was that... It was Petty. I was just watching that thing. That was Petty. Not that she'll necessarily watch this, but she was saying that they told the cousin that she was an alien because she had an Audi, and the rest of them had innies. And I'm thinking that's so funny because that's the shit kids do to each other. And then I'm thinking, oh my god, that's like one of those stupid things I would have held on to and brought up like 25 years later. And I would have been like, but no, I was low-key traumatized. No, but seriously. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I would have laughed, you know. It's like you laugh about lots of things when you get older and you're like, oh god, we did the dumbest shit when we were kids. You know, my friend to his brother, remember that time I convinced you that our capes would make us fly and you almost jumped off the roof? Wasn't that funny? And her mom's like, no, that wasn't funny at all. They're like, yeah, it was so funny. So, yeah. I don't even know where I'm going. I'm just rambling at this point. But doing better. Actually made a video and I'm going to put it up before I even think about it much. Just maybe someone will look at it. Hedda will, because she told me she will. She said, make sure you tell me when you put up a video. And so here I am. This is me. These days or soon, you know, if I actually garner a slight amount of attention, I may amuse everyone at attempting to put on makeup. Because one of the things I didn't have the chance to do while growing up was learn makeup. Raised by my dad mainly, and they're just, foundation was kind of a difficult thing in the 90s. I mean, unless I wanted to use like white face paint. So luckily for me, I've always had pretty good skin on my face and did not have to go through some kind of horrifying, desperate need to try to wear makeup because middle school and high school. So I'm glad that it's not like that so much anymore. I'm glad to be able to see, you know, people like Alexia, if you watch this, and Taylor, not that she necessarily will, but, you know, other people with problems that, you know, upset them. You know, it's like, I have rosacea, but I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't need blush. You know? That's not a big deal. I mean, eventually I'm gonna look like a lush, but that's minor compared to what some people go through, you know? And it's like, but the whole skin thing, like, I don't even wash my face every day. Like, straight out, seriously, I don't moisturize, I don't have a skincare routine, I never have. I throw all of my clothes in the washer all together. I make everything in one pot and eat TV dinners. I'm a bachelor? I don't know. I just never really got into more of the girly stuff. My mom was pretty hippie-ish. She didn't wear makeup. She didn't wear a bra. I don't know, Mom. I don't know. I totally get what you were doing. But they still get in the way. It's just nice to have them all contained. So, anyways, tears are one thing that will definitely happen. They're not always terrible. I think that's just part of who I am, and I don't want to feel bad about it anymore. It's like, I don't want to feel bad about just having a strong reaction, you know. It's like, okay, give me a second. You know, just give me, like, I know what's happening. I know, okay, if you know, if something changes out of the middle of nowhere, it's gonna take me a minute to recover. You know, I can snap into this weird, like, super hyper focus sometimes, but I'm gonna pay for it later. It's gonna catch up with me. And the longer I put it off, the more it's gonna get. And if I put off a whole bunch of things to function, then it's gonna build up. And it's gonna build up a lot. Like, I think that's part of why I just want to get it done. I just want to face some shit now and get it and ride it out and deal with it. Like, you know, I probably think a lot more about my dad dying than people necessarily think I should. But then again, I really didn't consider it with my mom. And I mean, my mom was gone for like 6/8 of my life, 7/8 of my life, you know. I mean, you know, if you add up hours of time spent with families or, you know, whatever, like, mom's definitely like middle of the list there. Like, it's not like I knew her all that well or that I was used to her being around. Like, I totally get why you know, if you're used to someone being there every day. But I just, it never occurred to me that I'd still miss her. It never occurred to me there would be a difference. I mean, she's always been gone. But now she's gone. Yeah. And, all of this that I'm going through now, all of this learning, all of this finally figuring out why I had problems in school, that it wasn't my parents' fault, you know. I wasn't blowing my nose in my shirt. I was sniffing. In, not out. Yeah, it's just, you know, I think I'm so excited that I'm just so excited to see people talking about things, to see people talking about hard things, because I think, you know, I think my grandparents, what were they, the greatest generation, you know, there was a lot of just kind of gloss over and don't pay attention to the negative things and just keep on moving forward and looking forward and everything's good and make everything look perfect. And it's so similar to the whole Instagram thing now that people talk about, where everyone's creating this perfect Instagram life on social media, and it's like, pretend. And it's not good. It's not good at all. Like, do you want to see how it's not good? I mean, look at the boomers' parents. You know, you want to talk about not facing reality. Like, I mean, they were, but they weren't doing it in public. So every media, everything that they had around them, so everything they showed their kids was all this positive stuff, all of this glitz and glamour, and, you know, because it was entertainment. It was meant to make people not think about reality. That was the whole idea. And so it makes sense that it was done that way. But on the other hand, as we now know very well, with no representation of reality, so you've got all of this unrealistic crap ideas going on. I mean, like, my mother's mother fought for a good 12, 13 years of my life to get custody of me to my mother, not to her. It wasn't that she wanted me away from my dad. It was just that really super old school idea that a child needs to be with their mother, period. And that's just not always true. I mean, I love my mother, but she was dealing with some shit, and she had her own shit to deal with. She had her own CPTSD. She had her own PTSD. I don't know whether it was complex. I don't know the whole stories, but there were definitely traumatic incidents that she was dealing with, and that she definitely has symptoms of, because I'm doing things now that I saw her doing. Except I know why I'm doing it, and she didn't. So, no, you know, she wasn't terrible, but she was running away, you know. And she was in Southern California in the 90s, so she got on pills, like a lot of people. And everyone's story went a little different, and my mom already definitely had an addictive personality, so getting put on opiates, prescribed or not, but, you know, they were handing out oxys like candy back then. It was brand new. It was the miracle drug, and it was great for everyone. And it didn't turn out to be that way. And unfortunately, that's, you know, she falls well into the normal statistics of it. You know, I have an uncle who was, you know, her brother who was in Vietnam, and he ended up homeless because he was there in, you know, in the earlier parts of it, and experienced more, you know, in whatever he was doing than, say, my dad, who was also in Vietnam, but he was younger, so he was in basically a different war, you know, in some ways. He was in, you know, different part of the military and different part of the battles and everything, did different things, but, you know, they didn't, you know, and my grandma didn't know what to do with them. He did, you know, she did the right thing. She sent her son off to war. Her husband had gone off to war. My grandfather was in World War II. So she did the right thing. She sent her son off to war, and he died homeless because he could never get past the PTSD, basically. And all I can say is that, but we're improving. We keep learning. And, you know, I'm doing this now and learning and dealing with the mental health and stuff now and the PTSD now, and that's hell of earlier than, you know, my parents got to, and definitely way more than their parents got to. And now, you know, people are doing something about it younger. It's like, you know, the way I look at it, I still have half of my life ahead of me. I mean, yeah, I'm low-key, I've been low-key annoyed since they came out with computer learning, because if I could have gone at my own pace, and because I learned from reading really well, from being talked to in a classroom where I have to sit still, not so much. So I would have been, you know, show my age. Oh, I would have been Doogie Howser up in this shit. I would have just, you know, you figure I was spending all my time sitting in my room reading anyway, you know. I liked learning stuff. I like learning about stuff and finding things out. So, I mean, no, there still would have been history class. Memorizing all those stupid dates that we'll never need to know again. But I don't know, I'm rambling. It's been like 40 minutes, so I should probably get off of here. And that was my rambly introduction. And next time I get on here, I'm going to try to at least know what I plan on talking about, other than the fact that I'm sad because I didn't get the car I wanted. So, hope to see people soon, or whatever. Hope I can amuse you with more ramblings and attempts at learning makeup for the first time in my life. I am not gonna make those Sharpie brows though. Like, I see, like, seriously, like, that's the other reason I didn't do makeup in school, is that you know, you see all those people, they doing the newbie mistakes in public. My boyfriend's like, why are you putting makeup on when you're not going anywhere? It's like, because if I mess it up, people will see. Okay, I need to practice before I go out in public. Yeah. I also did that with chopsticks. I didn't want to not be able to use chopsticks in front of the Asian people at the mall. I was like 18. So I took chopsticks home and I practiced with ramen noodles until I felt comfortable with chopsticks. And now I always use chopsticks because I like them. But yeah, I'll just practice here by myself. But now I'm going to practice here by myself in front of you. That's kind of the idea. We'll see.